today. And as a reminder, these coffee chats are a space where we can come together to learn, connect, and share resources that strengthen our caregiving and elder care community. Today's session is a very special one. We're shining a spotlight on the Armed Forces Retirement Home, an institution with deep roots in our history and an ongoing mission to honor and care for those who have served. We are privileged to be joined by our expert panelist, the Deputy Public Affairs Officer at AFRH. In her role, she focuses on policy advocacy and community outreach, and she helps oversee the admission process for veterans who may one day call AFRH home. Over the next hour, she'll be sharing valuable insights into how veterans can find comfort, dignity, and community in retirement, whether you are a veteran yourself, care for one, or simply want to better understand the resources available. This will be a conversation you'll want to hear, and one you may want to share with others who could benefit. So please remember again, we will hold the Q&A at the end, so feel free to jot down your questions or drop them in the chat box or Q&A box. Anyway, with that, it's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Maureen Robbins. Maureen, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dexter. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Maureen, and as Dexter mentioned, I'm the Deputy Public Affairs Officer at the Armed Forces Retirement Home. And you may be wondering why a public affairs officer is the one representing a retirement community. And so hopefully as I get into our structure a little bit today, you'll understand why my role is involved in the admissions process. So the Armed Forces Retirement Home, I will be focusing today mostly on the Washington, D.C. campus for information, but we do have two campuses. One is located in Washington, D.C., and the other one is in Gulfport, Mississippi, both offering different kinds of communities so that we can, make sure that we have a full scope of offerings depending on what your preferences are, whether you prefer being in a dynamic city space with, beaches and mountains and a little bit everything, not too far of a drive from home. Or if you prefer to be on the water with your balcony overlooking the Gulf, you can have a little bit of everything. So like I said, I'll get into the DC campus mostly today, but a lot of the information that I'm going to be sharing today is relevant to both campuses, and most of the sharings at the Washington, D.C. campus are offered at Gulfport as well. So please keep that in mind as we're going through it. So we're a little bit different than most retirement communities because we are a federal agency. We are not affiliated with the VA. We are our own separate agency in the executive branch of the U.S. government, and we are established under 24 U.S. Code 10. So our existence is a law. We have been here since 1851, so a very proud history of taking care of veterans. And we do have several oversight functions that come down from Washington Headquarters Services and the Department of Defense in general. So there is a big hand from the larger agencies of government in making sure that we continue to take care of our veterans to the best of our ability. Now, I mentioned we've been here since 1851. That is specifically the Washington, D.C. campus. The Gulfport campus's history goes back a little bit earlier, about 40 years earlier. And our mission that entire time has not changed. We are a facility that was designed to take care of wounded and retired soldiers. And then over the years, as the military expanded and changed, eligibility to this particular facility changed as well, so that folks you became airmen, who for now we have the Space Force that has started, so those folks would be welcome. We now accept National Guard. So as the military evolves, our facility also evolves. So in some of the images that you'll see throughout the PowerPoint, you may see this mix of very old architecture and old history with a lot of the more modern amenities that we offer. So who's eligible? It is a veteran facility, so we are looking for folks who served specifically in the United States military, and there are multiple categories under which you are eligible to live here. These are all stipulated by law in Chapter 10 of Title 24 of the U.S. Code. So if there were changes to any of these eligibility factors, those would have to be voted on and placed into law by Congress. So the main qualifier is we are a facility for enlisted veterans, not officers. There are a few exception cases. We do accept warrant officers who are a little bit in a category on their own, as well as limited duty officers. Limited duty officers are typically Navy, and they are considered part of the officer rank structure. However, limited duty officers come from enlisted ranks. So that is why we've made that exception for them to be able to live here. Now, in addition to being an enlisted member for at least half of your service, you must fall under one of the categories that you see in the PowerPoint. So either being a military retiree, meaning that you've done 20 or more years in active duty. You have a service-connected disability. This would require a rating from the Veterans Affairs Department and care being received at the VA hospitals. To have served in a war theater or received hostile fire pay. So this would mean either being in country during a time of conflict that is recognized by the Department of Defense, or having proof of having received hostile fire pay in a special kind of mission. Typically, folks who have served and are eligible under that category also have a service-connected disability or are able to get a rating for a service-connected disability. So those typically go hand in hand. We also admit women with service prior to June 12th, 1948. It's a very specific date, but that is the date at which women became eligible to retire from the military. Prior to that, women were considered a temporary component. So this just recognizes that there are many women who had served, for example, during World War II, who would not have been able to receive retiree services or benefits. We do have actually quite a few women living here who are World War II veterans who fall under this criteria. And then the final criteria is if you are eligible for retired pay under Chapter 1223. So this is going to keep in mind your National Guard and your reserves, folks who did 20 plus years in those components, so not active duty. And then recently, in the last 5 years, we've also had the law change to allow spouses to enter. So as long as you are moving in with your military sponsor, with your military spouse, that spouse must be a retiree. So they must have done 20 years or more of military service. Currently, by the law, that is the only way that spouses come in. And we have dozens of couples who have moved in since then and really made the community quite a vibrant place since they've come in. Now, in addition to being a location for veterans, for enlisted veterans, cost is important. One of the reasons why this facility exists is that historically, and per the current pay structures, typically officers make quite a bit more in income, and therefore when they're retiring, they're also receiving more retirement income from the military. And so we wanted to have a retirement community where enlisted personnel would not have to be worried about whatever income they had in their retirement that was coming in. So we do have a cost structure. This is stipulated in all of our policy documents and also by law. So currently, as you can see on the table in front of you, we do have a maximum fee for independent living of $2,400 a month. This may seem perhaps pricey to some, depending on what areas of the country you're tuning in from. But do keep in mind, this is Washington, D.C. So when I show you a little bit later everything that's offered underneath that umbrella, you will understand that $2,400 as a maximum is actually more than reasonable, in my opinion. Now, let's say that $2,400 a month is not affordable to you. In your monthly gross income, you're not making that much, but you are eligible to live here. You'd like to be in a military community like this. The other aspect of our cost structure is that if you are unable to pay the max fee, you are able to qualify under a percentage of gross monthly income. So if you only make $1,000 a month in monthly retirement income, then you will be eligible to pay only 46.7%. So you would be paying less than $500 a month for your rent to live here. That is intentional. Almost every single resident is subsidized to live here by the government and by the various funding that we receive. So most residents, I believe the average is somewhere around $1,850 a month is what a typical resident pays. But that is not going to be a standard to every single individual. Their rental is on an individual basis. As you go up into the higher levels of care, healthcare costs go up, as we all know. So the max fee and the gross monthly income that we use to do your rental fee does change and does become a little bit more, but overall still very affordable for a lot of facilities around the country. So this is just to give you a little bit of an idea of how our population is spread across the military background. It is a pretty even split between the Army and the Air Force. The Navy folks are hoping that one day that they'll get ahead in having greater number of Navy. And then we have a very small sliver of Marine Corps and a very small sliver of Coast Guard. I believe we only have 3 Coasties right now at either campus. So really most of the folks that are coming in are Air Force, Army, and Navy, the biggest services, but folks that come in are from every single kind of technical background, every single kind of job that you could imagine having in the military. So it's a fantastic mix of people who live here. Now, for funding, I did mention that everyone is subsidized, or most people are subsidized to live here. So it makes you wonder, okay, where do we get the money to be able to do all of that? So we do get general fund appropriations from Congress that help us with our operational costs. That's going to be a lot of the healthcare needs of our residents, particularly in the upper levels of care, assisted living, long-term care, and memory care. But even for independent living, when we start to talk about what is included in that monthly fee, you'll also see that there has to be some other way to be able to provide all of these services. So we do, in addition to resident fees, we do have quite a few different revenue sharing and leasing agreements on campus with the VA, with Washington Healthcare Hospital, which is right next to the VA, right across the street from us. That is a bit of a land sharing agreement with them. We have a school on campus in order to have a very intergenerational component to our campus, and then just a variety of different other programs in order to receive lease monies. And then one of the biggest areas that we get funding as well, which is a bit unique, is it has been enacted in law almost since we started that enlisted active duty personnel actually contribute every single month on their leave and earnings statement. So there's 50 cents deducted essentially as a tax on all of those personnel so that in the future they can be eligible to live here too. So folks who are enlisted and are in the service, they're paying into their benefit, and they're also investing in this facility being able to exist for them in their future. All right, so what is included in $2,400 a month? A lot of these items will probably appear pretty similar to things that are available at other retirement communities. However, remember, this is all included in the $2,400 as a maximum fee. So there are no extra charges, there are no limited services. Everything that I'm about to say to you is all wrapped up in that cost. So as we've talked about cost, we do have 5 levels of care. Independent living, most folks will be coming in independent, fully able to take care of their activities of daily living, dress themselves, feed themselves, go on trips, living as a regular adult. As you start to have a few higher needs, instead of moving directly to assisted living, we do prefer folks to age in place. So we do have a middle program called Independent Living Plus, which allows you to stay in your original independent living apartment and just have a light nursing aspect to your daily living. Maybe you need help filling your medication box each week, or perhaps you're having balance issues from a recent surgery. There is a registered nurse who can be there to help you with each of those things, whether it's a small daily task or a weekly task. There's just a little bit of extra assistance to make sure that your care is not falling through the cracks in any way. And then from there, if you have higher needs, we would help the transition into assisted living or long-term care or memory support as you need it. On our campus, we have quite a few medical uh, offerings. So there is a 24/7 medical clinic on site with MDs, RNs, LPNs. There is always someone on staff in order to help a resident if they are having an emergency. On site, we also have a rehabilitation department. So that's going to be physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy, which is fully staffed. A prescription satellite. So any of our residents who receive prescriptions from either Walter Reed Military Hospital, which is not too far from here, or the VA hospital, which is right across the street from us, we actually have staff who will go and fill those prescriptions for you so that you can just on your way to lunch, stop by the prescriptions window, pick up your medication, and keep going about your day. We do offer shuttle services to the Walter Reed Military Hospital, which we have an exclusive agreement with. We are the only retirees who are allowed to receive medical care there. And then we also have a shuttle to the Veterans Affairs Hospital as well for residents who are doing regular checkups, attending clinics there that are part of their military benefits, etc. And then we do offer dental, podiatry, and optometry on site in that wellness clinic that is open 24 hours. So those hours are a little bit more limited because they are contracted services for us, but they are accessible to residents as they need them. Military heritage is a really big deal here. So every single space that you're walking through, living in, is a historic space. There are museum spaces on site. There are historic restrictions to how we can fix the buildings, all those kinds of things that come along with being on an old campus. However, the biggest aspect of military heritage that we celebrate are the residents themselves. So we celebrate all the military birthdays. We frequently receive VIP visits from foreign dignitaries coming to thank a lot of our residents for their service in the variety of conflicts that we've been involved in the past and that they have served in. In particular, on this slide, there are actually 3 World War II veterans who are still living at the top there. So just something really cool that I get to see every single day is hanging out with these folks and learning from them. And so military birthdays, we get visits from a variety of the senior enlisted offices coming to check in, again, making sure we're taking care of our veterans in a way that is befitting of the dignity that they should have here, and making sure that we really are honoring them in the services that we provide. So we try to keep that military aspect very, very much at the forefront here, and it is a source of pride for a lot of the residents who live here. They want to live in a place where folks understand the experiences that they have had and that have really marked them as individuals. Just a few things before I get onto the list of more resident services that are offered. Something a little bit unique for us because we have the space. We actually have a small hotel area. So we call them the Anderson Suites. There are 8 guest rooms that are about half the price of a regular rate DC hotel. These types of guest rooms are also offered at Gulfport. So as I said at the very beginning, these amenities are very much mirrored at each of our campuses. This in particular is an image of the ones at our Washington, D.C. campus. And essentially, these rooms are available for reservation by any guests that are sponsored by a current resident. So whether they have friends visiting or grandkids coming from out of town, there's no problem at all with them just going up to our resident services desk and making a reservation so that their family can be on site with them, making sure that they're integrated into the day-to-day of their loved one while they're visiting here without having to worry about traffic or having to wake up early in order to make it for breakfast, that sort of thing. They get to just be nice and close. We do have a 9-hole regulation golf course at the Washington, D.C. campus. So since we don't have beach access, we had to make up for it in some sort of way. So residents, they do have year-round access to this course. There are no tea times. There are plenty of clubs available for any residents who want to go out onto the driving range or try it out. And the views are incredible. I mean, you can see one of our residents here, Mr. Wheeler, going ahead and teeing off, and you see the Washington Monument in the background. It doesn't get more idyllic than that, in my opinion. And this golf course is all volunteer led. So one of the ways that we're able to provide a lot of the amenities that we have is actually by the residents being involved in the care of a lot of the spaces. So the golf course is actually entirely run by a group of the Navy guys who live here. The manager is 80 years old, submarine veteran, and he leads a group of about 6 or 7 guys who make sure that all the mowing is done, the seeding, the sanding, really making sure that all of the guests who utilize our golf course are happy with it. And for them, it's a form of purpose of continuing to serve, so to speak. But so there's really that resident commitment into making sure that these spaces are continuing to be available to other residents. We have a huge campus. It's 270 acres, so amenities abound. We do have fishing ponds that are stocked with bass. I know the photo might be a little unclear because there's a lot going on, but there is a fairly large fish in the net of the gentleman right there. For residents who just want to go down and fish whenever they like, there's fishing rods in a small shed. Any kind of hooks or bait, tackle, all of that kind of stuff is available in that shed for them. They can go down anytime. And for our upper levels of care, in the warmer months, we take them down every couple of weeks just to make sure that they can get a little bit of that outdoor air, some good enrichment, and a lot of laughs when you try to catch a very slimy fish. We do also have artist spaces. So here you see a couple of photos from our artist colony where there's predominantly painting, photography. There's currently diamond art being done in there by a few residents. And we do have additional spaces related to art. So a ceramic studio where you can do pottery or glasswork with several kilns. We have an automotive repair shop, which some of the guys run, where they take care of all of our golf carts for the golf course. They're all fixed here in-house by our residents. Woodworking shop. There's plenty of walking trails and areas that you can bike on 270 acres. So you frequently see residents walking around and just enjoying the fresh air and the greenery that we have on our campus. And then we also have gardening areas that are set aside for our residents to be able to garden whatever they like. Some folks, they like to do vegetables in the warm months, but we do have a few residents who are big on flowers. Who do a flower ministry here and ensure that all of our upper levels of care are always decorated with seasonal flowers. So again, residents giving back to residents, and us just making sure that they have the spaces and the materials to be able to continue to engage with those activities. We do also have a 24-hour gym, which I would argue rivals most gyms I think I've paid for in my life. It has every single machine and weight that you could possibly imagine, as well as a small therapy pool that is warmed up to a therapeutic temperature for folks who have arthritis and that sort of thing. And we do have aerobics class, water aerobics classes, and just swimming time for a lot of the different residents who are here. We do also in that price, many retirement communities do not offer full meals, so all of your meals. For us, it's full dining service. Our dining hall is open for 3 meals a day. We also have an AAFES PX. For those of you who are not familiar with military shopping, the PX for us is kind of a bit of a convenience store, and larger PXs and larger AAFES stores are also more like supermarkets. You can kind of think of it as like a military Walmart almost. So anything that they can't get or that they can't go out to go and purchase, they can order through RPX and have it delivered to the facility for them. as well as a small canteen. So we have a 24/7 space where we put snacks. They have coffee, juice, any just small nibbles that they might want to walk by and grab. So we're making sure that all of our folks are not surviving on one meal a day. There are also nutritionists who are checking in on our residents at least monthly just to make sure that everybody's eating properly, making good choices, happy with the food that they're having, and ensuring that we can make any changes either individual or in the services that we provide in the dining hall. And then our recreation team, like many other facilities, does big special events, organizes concerts and performances, organizes trips out to either more concerts and performances, to museums in the local area, to special events that are going on in the community, and so on and so forth. And then finally, in the services that are available to residents, we do have a very strong resident advocacy arm here. You've heard me talk a lot about residents being very, very involved, and that's the way that we like it here. We want folks to have purpose and continue to thrive in their home, really. So in order to make sure that everybody's comfortable and life is going smooth and they have everything that they need, we do have social workers on site for all levels of care, just to ensure that if there's anything that needs to be taken care of or if anybody is making transitions, that we have folks here on site who can help them and their families navigate that. We do have a resident ombudsman as well. So this individual is outside of the typical structure so that there is no conflict of interest with staff. So that individual is there for anything additional, whether it is a resident to resident issue, a resident to staff issue. They're really there as an advocate and someone to listen to the residents to hear what are things that we can continue to improve on. And then finally, we do have a resident advisory council. So anything that the residents are not appreciating in their home, they do have essentially a entire resident structure that is dedicated to addressing different areas of the home, and making sure that residents' needs are being advocated back to the staff so that we're making decisions that are in par with what they want to see in their home. And then your typical things on a huge historic campus, of course, you're going to have campus operations, contracting, all of the building repairs or, air conditioning repairs, typical things, capital improvements on a historic building, landscaping, etc., for residents who don't want to mow the lawn anymore. So we take care of all of those things. And that is everything that I have to share with you. I'm happy to take any kinds of questions, even if it's, I have some friends who may be interested in looking at this place. These are our information. I manage the public affairs inbox, so any emails that come through with individuals who are interested in learning more about the Armed Forces Retirement Home, I'm happy to answer any of those questions.
Awesome. That's a really beautiful presentation. I love seeing the facilities and the actual residents living there. It's just beautiful seeing that. Anyway, I just have one question here. Probably it would just be a reiteration or answering again what was mentioned before. So can spouse accompany when vet has service-related disability of 60% but not 20 years of service? Uh-huh.
Marine,
Marine?
I think things froze up
Will?
on her end. Things maybe
Mm-hmm.
froze up on her end.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
I guess one thing I was going to add while we wait for Maureen to get back up, I've personally been to this facility. It's something that I highly recommend someone experiences personally, get a tour, see it. You kind of have to see it to believe it. It is truly unique. It's a really good deal, and what I love, it's for men and women that have given so much. It's for the enlisted primarily, and I really think it's something that's unique. And it looks like we just got a question, but maybe we'll wait one more minute for Maureen to join back up. Yeah, I think the question's, yeah, let's see here. So I think the question is on how can I apply for a retirement home in other states? I know that they do accept people nationally and even internationally on DC campus in Gulfport, but again, I'm with Visiting Angels. I can't answer for them, but hopefully Maureen can get back on for that.
Yeah, while waiting, I'd just like to just remind everyone that this session is being recorded and it's gonna be edited and we are gonna be sending the replay to you via email. So watch out in your inbox and as well as some resources like these slides. And if you have your questions here, we could be forwarding them to Marine. So something must have happened technically, but lucky for us, she was able to finish the presentation. So how was your visit to the campus, Will?
Yeah, it was great. I got a nice personal tour. It's what she didn't mention. It's 250 acres, so it's large. One thing is, the history is big in Washington, D.C. There's the Lincoln Cottage, and that's where the Emancipation Declaration was actually signed. That's on campus. A couple years ago, I want to say it was probably like 8 years ago or so, they did a major renovation. I know on the independent living side, they're going to be doing another renovation. So, I was working with Maureen getting this event to happen because I think it's such a great benefit that not a lot of people know about. But yes, beautiful campus. It's just, I would just say take a tour and then you get to see the uniqueness. But facilities are beautiful. People are also the other thing that she didn't mention, that like the residents themselves, just wonderful stories, very friendly. Um, it's it's can't recommend it high enough.
Mhm. By the way, Will, so probably people might be wondering how is Visiting Angels or how did Visiting Angels get, shoulder to shoulder
Hmm.
with yeah, the facility Armed Forces Retirement Home.
Hi, Dexter.
And
Can you hear me?
We can hear
oh,
you.
hi,
Is
we
this
can hear
Maureen?
Fantastic.
you.
I apologize to everyone. We are doing a whole bunch of wiring work in my building, and it appears the Wi-Fi has gone out. So I have tuned back in on the phone instead.
Oh,
Um, so yeah, Maureen, just to fill you in, I just was kind of speaking about your praises, just saying it's just your campus is something that needs to be experienced firsthand, encouraging everyone to make a visit. So from that, there have been some questions that have come up,
Sure.
and I thought we just kind of go down the line. Um, and the first one was what Dexter said, but can espouse a company when um, the vet has a service disabled disability of 60%, but not 20 years of service.
Unfortunately, right now the law is written for retirees, so the 20 years of service being the only ones who are eligible to bring in a spouse. That being said, there is some legislation advocacy being done on our behalf in order to try and expand those categories. So I would say, at least once or twice a year, check back in and check our apply page, because any changes that are made to legislation we would update immediately, and that's afrh.gov/apply. So that is a great place to check if the law has changed.
Thank you very much. The other question is, how can I apply for the retirement home if I'm in another state?
That is not a problem at all. So the admissions office sits in my department, in the public affairs department, and we my staff are not co-located. So myself and one of the individuals who works on admissions are in Washington, D.C. We have another in Gulfport and another in Texas. And we answer all questions via phone, email. So any sort of documents that need to be sent or anything like that can be faxed or emailed to us, or a share file with all of your documents, and it can be provided that way. If there's any issues with getting documents to us, it's very easy to just call one of our admissions officers, and we will do our best to make sure to facilitate getting those materials to us. So not being in our state is not a problem. The majority of people who apply to us do not live in the Washington, D.C. area or in the Gulfport, Mississippi area.
I have a general question around that personally. So if someone does decide this is where they want to go in terms of moving, is everybody responsible for their own moving costs, or do you partner with anyone that makes the moving process smoother?
So we don't have any partnerships with folks to help with moving. So that is largely on the applicant themselves. However, once you're here, we do have campus operations staff who can help with moving boxes. And kind of what I was saying about the residents being super involved in serving here, a lot of residents actually help with move-ins as well. So once you're in the area of one of the campuses, we are happy to help from there, but we are unable to help if you are, for example, moving furniture from out of state. You would have to hire private movers or move those yourself.
Thank you. That's really good to know. And then someone has a question: what's the largest apartment one could live in, especially if it's a couple that moves in, and is there a kitchen included?
Those are great questions. So I will say the campuses are a little bit different right now, and I'll explain what I mean by that. In Gulfport, the facility was built just after Hurricane Katrina, so it is a much newer facility than the DC campuses, and I will caveat that in a moment. But in Gulfport, there are couple-specific rooms and single rooms. The couple rooms are about 150 to 200 square feet larger than the individual rooms. And the rooms there are about 500 square feet. These are studio apartments. They are kind of like one large room, and there's an area for a kitchenette, but no full kitchen. And I will say, having visited the Gulfport campus, I can affirm that the cooking is actually pretty good there. They do a great job with seafood. Now, the Washington, D.C. campus is a little bit different. It is an older building, however, and the apartments are quite small. They're around 270 square feet. However, the building is old, and we are about to break ground on a massive renovation of the building, where the smallest apartments will be about 500 square feet, and the largest ones will be around 800. So in a few years, the Washington, D.C. campus will actually have much larger rooms than the Gulfport campus will.
Great.
And now, as far as like right now for the Washington, D.C. campus, obviously 270 square feet is not enough for a couple. So what we've done is we place couples in adjoining rooms, and we've created like a double room apartment. So we have put in doors in between those rooms so that they can have kind of a bedroom area and a living room area. And so far that has worked really well for our couples.
Thank you so much. And then last question is is there a waiting list, and if so, what's the timing in terms of like months or years to like if you decide this is of interest, you want to live
Sure.
here, does it take a couple months, years to get on campus?
That is also a great question. And just as the title of our coffee chat is DC's best kept secret for our nation's veterans, there is no wait list. So as long as you're coming in independent, currently we have availability at both campuses. Gulfport is coming near to filling up for independent living, so Gulfport may go on a wait list maybe in a year or two, but for Washington, D.C., we still have quite a few rooms available right now, and then once the renovation is done, our number of rooms will actually double here, so we anticipate actually admitting quite a few people to our community here and having availability for that. So no, there is no wait list, and we highly encourage people to take a look and apply.
You're muted, Will.
I was just saying thank you so much, Maureen. I know we had some technical difficulties, but this was really informative. There's a lot of good Q&A that went back and forth. So thank you for being flexible, and um, hopefully the secret is out.
I sure hope so. I appreciate the time being able to share this with everyone. And if there are any follow-up questions, please feel free to send an email to our public affairs inbox. All of our emails and phone numbers are on the website. And then if you and Dexter would like, you are more than welcome to share my information as well. If anybody has any questions they would like to ask me directly, that's also not a problem.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. Awesome. Yeah, so like I mentioned a while ago, we'll be sending a replay of this session. And if you got any question, let us know. We can forward it to Maureen or you can send it to her directly. Either way, we will be sending her information to you via email as well with the slides, correct, Maureen? Or notes
Yes.
if you have some to send them.
Absolutely. I have materials that I can send over that can be sent out to everyone, including a frequently asked question document, which I think will answer most people's questions.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, folks, you just have to wait for that. Give me a day to line everything up, edit things. I usually send the replay either on a Thursday or Friday, so you'll have time on the weekend to watch them, even binge watch our past coffee chat episodes as well. So they're just on YouTube. Anyway, Will, is there anything else you'd like to add to this beautiful session?
No, just schedule a visit. See this place firsthand. It is really special.
Beautiful. How about you, Maureen? Any final message to our viewers today?
I would just say help us make sure that this is no longer a best kept secret. Word of mouth has been most successful for us, and we're here for any veteran who needs a place to go or who just wants to be around, similar individuals with similar experiences. We are there for them, and if we are not able to help, we're happy to point you in a direction that is going to be useful for your particular case. So please share the word, and yeah, just thank you for listening.
Mhm. Okay, beautiful. So I guess that's it for our coffee chat session for today. Again, this coffee chat episodes or live sessions happen every third Wednesday of the month. Every third Wednesday. So you could just register every month. Again, these coffee chats are our safe place for us to come together, to learn together, to connect, share resources from different expert panelists, organizations, and key players in the home care or elder care space, and which of course we wish to strengthen our whole community and make the lives of our elders easier and better, and the lives of those who care for them as well. So, with that, I bid you farewell for today, and we'll see you again next time. Have a great day and take care. Bye bye.